Hello.
Hello.
How
Can you
you
hear me
doing?
okay?
Yep.
Okay. I'm turning this on because it's not working right. Do, do,
Oh,
do.
well, I can
How
hear
was
you. So I
oh,
didn't
there
hear
we
what
go.
you said. Okay.
That's better. I said, how was your week?
It was okay. It was,
Was it week? It
yeah,
was good?
yeah. It happened. It's
That's
over.
good.
Yeah. I'm
That's
like,
good.
yeah. I like working this job. I'm definitely more like, oh my God, it's the weekend. Like, yay.
Feeling it.
Yeah, yeah. Ready for it. And they,
Glad you survived.
yeah, I survived. Asking maybe for like some Fridays or something. And I was like, nope, nope, that's my podcast day. Nope,
Fridays are mine.
they're mine. You're not having them.
Nice. No.
Yeah.
Indeed not.
Speaking of that, welcome back to our little white picket fence.
That is correct.
Yeah.
It's
All
good
right.
to have you here.
Yeah. And Anthony keeps telling me, like and subscribe if anybody likes and wants to subscribe because, it'd be
Because
cool.
why not?
Why not? Yeah. You know what I was thinking we should do?
What's that?
Some sort of like shorter videos because we kind of blabber on for a long time. But it would be kind
Yes,
of
we
fun
do.
to do some short,
Short
I don't know.
mini videos.
Yeah, yeah. I was trying to think of
Yeah.
something that would be funny to do. So if you think of something, let me know.
Okay. I'm in. Let's do it.
Okay. Sweet.
All right.
Anyways, okay, so you are gonna enlighten me
I
today.
I had the topic for today, and I thought it would be really cool to talk about kids and past lives.
Mhm.
Like, let me preface this with saying that I am not sold on this idea. This is not something that I, you know, am an expert on or subscribe
Okay.
to or anything like that. I just thought it was an interesting idea,
Yeah.
and the evidence for it is kind of cool
Yeah.
to look into.
Yeah. I kind of on the same boat. Like I don't believe in it because I don't know that I believe in anything, but also
Yeah.
I don't know that it's not true. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. Although I do feel like I hear a lot of the same stories, on repeat, which is like makes it feel more and more just like some old wives' tales. But it'd be
Yeah. Like
cool.
the two kids that are faking it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if faking or if just it was never real and it was something that started and just passed on or whatever. But I
Yeah.
would like it. I would like it to be real, honestly, because
Well, it's an
I don't know.
interesting topic. There's Um, what I thought was this little niche group was actually there's like books and books written on it and scientific
Really,
research and yeah, it's a pretty interesting thing.
this is a thing.
So
Okay. All right.
yes, but once again, I don't know. It's just an idea,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and they're just cool, like kind of fun stories that it's
Yeah,
interesting to think about the idea of like a kid being closer to like some sort of spirituality or a past life or something like that. We don't have tons of memories from when we were little kids, so that like in
well,
between time.
yeah, and death is such a weird thing anyway.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
no matter what your religious beliefs are or what your personal beliefs are, it's a weird thing. Like somebody is there one day and just not the next, and there's so much we don't know that just to feel like you can have a little glimpse into it is intriguing.
Or that there is even
I
something
think
there to have a glimpse into.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I think I've said the word intriguing like 8 times already, and we've been here for 2 minutes, but
I'm
it is
intrigued.
super intriguing.
All right.
But so let's see. Today we're talking about past lives, and the cool thing about
Mhm.
little kids is that when you talk to them, they have no filter, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like they're trying to get you to believe something. They're not trying to get you to, believe them. Even most of what comes out of their mouth is just like blurted out. Whatever they're
Some
thinking, it's in their mind and it comes out their mouth at that exact
sometimes I
same
think
moment.
that's the part of childhood I held on to.
Well, good.
The
That's a good
blabbering
part
my
for the most
thoughts.
part.
Yeah.
Do you have stories
Filters
of
can be
like,
good.
yeah, we should do a whole podcast on stories of our little kids blurting things because I have a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I know there are
Yeah.
stories. I can't think of any blurtings right now, but really funny things. My kids definitely say a lot of funny things. Um,
Well, what were you saying? Sorry, I just cut you off right there. I was just going to talk about my daughter. We were in the post office and I was buying
Okay.
stamps and I was writing a check. So this is a long time ago.
Okay.
But I was holding her and I'm writing a check
I remember
and
this
she's telling
one.
me about and then she's telling me about the lady behind me and
Yeah.
she's like, that lady smiled at me and I'm like, that's great, sweetie. And I just write my check. She's really pretty. I'm like, oh, that's good, sweetie. You know, that's awesome. I'm like, is she your best friend now? She's like, oh yeah, she's my best friend. And I turn around and it's this like giant biker guy with tattoos everywhere, and he just happens to have like long hair. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, oh my,
He is pretty.
he's super pretty. I hope he
Mm.
was, had good humor. Anyway, back to what we were talking about though.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a couple of stories and you can, I don't know, form your own opinions on them.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the first one is about a kid named Cameron McCauley. And
Okay.
he might be one of these ones you've heard about a lot because it seemed like everywhere I looked, his was the first story that popped up.
Okay.
And so when he was just a really little kid, 2 or 3, he starts talking about when he lived on the island of Barra, which was like 200 miles from where he lived in Scotland. It's like this
Okay.
little island off of Scotland. So it really is a place called Barra. And he would just tell his family stories about when he lived there. Like, we lived in this little white house that was on the beach, and it was right above these rock pools, and we'd go play in the rock pools, and there was this little secret gate to get down to the beach, and the airplanes would come and land on the beach, and we'd watch him. Anyway, he had all these stories, and he'd just, talk about them, and people would ask him questions, and he'd answer all the questions. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, we had this little black and white dog. And then he talked about his dad's name was Shane Robertson, something like that. So their last name was Shane Robertson, or their name was Robertson, and that his dad died by getting hit by a car.
Okay. So
And
full of
so, like,
details, this one.
yeah, full of details, full of details. Anyway, finally, his mom's like, okay, well, we're gonna go check out this island. We're gonna get out there because he
Okay.
kept it on for about 2 years. He kept talking about this place. So they go out there and they explore a little bit, and they talk to the people on the island because there's only about that live on this island,
How many people?
1,000. So it's
Okay.
really small, really small. And they talk to like a historian there, and he's like, well, there's some Robertsons that live here, but I don't know really what you're talking about. There's no real census information. So they go back to their hotel, and then the guy calls them back a little while later, and he says, hey, there were Robertsons that lived here, and they were from the mainland, and they only came out for like holiday. They were there for vacation,
Mhm.
but they came out a lot. And so they went to this house, and the kid immediately recognizes it as his house. Like, oh yeah, I can, he showed him his old bedroom and where he used to watch out of, and the rock pools were there, and the little secret gate was there, and the planes would land on the beach. They didn't have a real airport, so that's where they would land. And anyway, there was just a lot
What
of
he had
information.
said. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that did not match up, however, was they couldn't find Shane Robertson, and they had no record of anybody getting hit by a car. So they don't know where that came from. But there was enough little details there that was like, huh,
Like he
it
couldn't have
makes you
had this
wonder.
information otherwise, type thing.
No.
Did he, as he grew up, continue to hold on to that story, or did he become
Um,
like his own person? You know what I mean? Because if you're
yeah.
carrying over memories from that, are you carrying over personality, or is it literally just
Yeah.
memories? You know?
They said this one specifically, I didn't see an update because it was a video of him when he was younger, but there was no update. A lot of these stories, they start to fade when the kids are about 6 or 7. Like
Okay.
when they start going to school and forming their own personality, it just kind of falls to the wayside.
Okay.
So anyway, um, let's see.
I like the idea of, or I don't know, I kind of like the idea of, as our world gets crazier and crazier, it's like, no, maybe I don't want to keep coming back.
What if I tap out? I'm out. Can we
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like watch from afar? Oh, the other thing it said about it was like his mom asked him, she's like, well, how did you come here? If you lived there, how did you come here? And he said, I fell through a hole and then I was your baby. Like anyway, it's like, okay. And the next story is similar to that, has a similar part of that, because
Okay.
there was a kid, I think it was in
I'm eating, by
California.
the way.
Please do. I would too if
Ramen.
I wasn't. The breakfast of champions, lunch of champions, I guess.
Hmm.
Indeed.
It was very fast.
That's good. But this boy, okay, I think he lives in California, and when
Okay.
he was about 2, his dad was changing his diaper, and he said, "Remember when I used to change your diaper?" And he's like, "What?" Like, anyway. Um, and then he would just bring up things about being his grandpa and his dad's grandpa. And I mean, the dad's like, "You're crazy, you know,
Mhm.
what are you talking about? What are you?" And then when he was 4 years old, somebody gave his family a photo album that had like younger pictures of their grandpa in it. And he could pick himself out in each and every one. And he picked out, like, there was a picture of some vehicles, and he's like, "This was my first car." And and he said the same kind of thing about there being, wait. He said in heaven, God gives you a card and you get to come back. And they're like, "All right." And he drew a picture of the card, and it was like a little, I don't know, a picture. Anyway, somebody's picture on a card. And he said, "And you go through this hole and then you're a baby again."
It'd be
And
so
it's
weird if
like,
it is like, okay, go, it's like going through the DMV or whatever. You got to go through and get
yeah,
whatever form
like,
it is and be like, okay, going on back.
yeah, but he was super excited because he's like, "I got to be a kid again. I was old and then I was a kid." And he was super excited and happy. And I
It
guess
still
he
has the
was
brain
his
of a
own
child, so can't like
grandpa.
hold on to all the memory. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
How it's
like,
like if you
mhm,
have all those memories, but you don't have the personality of it, it's just like
mhm.
I existed as this. If you knew you existed as that, then you're still kind of that, but they're not,
Yeah.
right? They're
But
just
if it's like
kids
the
with like these,
shadow of, I
yeah,
don't know,
maybe that.
but yeah,
Interesting though, either way.
yeah, very interesting. Okay, so I've got a bunch of these stories. I just want to hit on
Aw-
a few of them.
Awesome.
So another one that is super famous is her name's Barbara, I think Barbara Carlin. And when she was a little kid, yeah, do you know? Was that her name?
Yeah, yeah.
Barbo.
Barbaro. She
Barbaro.
prefers Barb.
We're gonna call her Barb. Yeah, Barbie. No, she was from Sweden, I think. And when she was a little girl, she told her mom that her name was Anne Frank. And her mom's like, "What?" Like, Anne Frank, the Diary of Anne Frank had not even been, um, what's the word? Translated into Swedish yet. So
Okay.
she's just like, "My name's Anne Frank." And as she got a little bit older, these ones kept going for a little bit, like when she was more of a grown-up child.
Okay.
But she started to feel self-conscious because people think you're weird if you tell them that you're somebody else. So she just stopped talking about it. But her family went on a trip to Europe, and they decided to stop by Anne Frank's house.
Hmm.
And her family was going to take a taxi, and she's like, "No, I'll just take you guys there." And so she led her family to Anne Frank's house, even though she'd never been there before. And she's like, "Oh, they changed the stairs." And then they went up to the bedrooms, and she had like a really bad reaction. Like she just wanted to leave really bad. And then they got in the bedroom, and she's like, they took the pictures off the walls. And they asked the historian there, and they're like, "Yeah, we had Anne Frank's pictures all over the walls, but people were taking too many flash photography pictures, and it was ruining the picture, so we took them all down." But anyway, she she said she was Anne Frank.
All right.
So I think if I had a past life, I was probably like some boring person that did nothing, because nothing of note.
I was kind of
Anyway,
a crazy, I mean, I'm still crazy, but I feel like I was kind of a crazy kid. I did like kind of off the wall things. And
yeah,
so I was some sort of dictator.
rebel.
But I was
God.
always like arranging things or like organizing, like this is what's going to be done. Like even as like
Yeah,
little groups of kids, like now we're doing this, or my own siblings, like, and it wasn't like, hey, you're doing this. It was like, all right, here's the supply. This is what we're doing. I don't know.
You were
Just
a
was
leader,
but
of some type.
also just kind of real bossy, like, and apparently, bossy enough to make people listen. Or I don't know, because I'm sometimes like, there was one story where I told my sister to do something that like upset my brother, and she was like, Rachel made me do it. And I'm like, I'm 5 years younger than you. I may have told you to do it, but
why'd you do it?
I thought it was a funny idea. But I'm like, yeah.
I'm willing to bet it was a funny idea.
um I've told you about this before. We had a foster sister who really like had a thing for Steven, had like a crush or whatever, and she had Down
Steven
syndrome
was
and
cute.
some other things, and
Mm.
um it was for him it was a little stressful because it was, just like, okay,
Constant.
leave him alone. Yeah. But I told Emily to like lay in his bed as a joke. We like piled some pillows on her because Rhonda was a little bigger, and when he walked in and saw what he thought was Rhonda like laying in his bed, he freaked out, like ripped a blanket off, and Emily's like, Rachel made me do it. And I didn't want to take any credit, so of course I was like, made you? No.
Yeah.
Like I might have come up with this really funny prank, but
Made you?
no, but I'm like, I must have been
Really?
very convincing, because I'm
I
like,
can see that.
I don't know. I don't know, because I'm like, why did you listen to me? Some of the things that like we did, I'm like, why? Why did you listen to me?
Because it
Anyways,
sounded like fun. That's
yeah,
why.
yeah.
It always does.
So anyways, if I was bringing over some part of who I was before, then I don't know. I definitely was a take charge kind.
Yeah, well, and I've wondered like what would be the purpose of keeping these memories? What would be important for us to learn from them, you know?
And why doesn't
Because
everybody have some sort of
yeah,
a memory of an actual like person or a thing? Because it seems like since they don't come over with the personality of it, just a little bit of like, hey, I have these memories.
yeah.
And
And I've always been like a little bit afraid to even look into it, not because of like the weirdness of it, but just because I don't want to be so caught up in looking at the past or looking at like past lives and stuff that I forget to live this one here. This is what we got right here. And whether I lived 8 million lives in the past, I don't know.
yeah,
I gotta make this one a good one. So
yeah, it's not important enough to like put any time into, because it doesn't change anything now, anyways. But it's
yeah,
interesting,
but
intriguing. Some would even say.
intriguing, some would say, and intelligent people would say. Um, no, but like therapists and people who look into it, if they can get you to talk about some of the things you've experienced and to maybe go back kind of in your mind, go back and experience some of those things, it can help people have a better understanding of why they have anxiety about certain things or why they
Oh yeah,
have a fear of certain things. And it actually can be very helpful. So
I've done that myself in just,
have you?
yeah, like just remembering experiences that I've had when I was younger, and then like trying to like just go back there in my mind, thinking about it with like my knowledge I have now versus then,
Mhm.
and just kind of looking at
Make
the
sense of
situation.
everything.
Yeah, looking at the situation completely differently. And
Mhm.
I think that's part of actually growing up. It's when you can kind of live all of your life, like go back and, I mean, obviously you can't change things, but you can correct your mindset,
Absolutely.
and be like,
Hmm.
oh, okay. Or even just like put like, I don't want to say blame, but like, like free
Yeah, just
yourself from blame, I guess, if you were holding on to like, maybe I did or whatever. And be, I don't know.
see things more clearly for what they were.
Exactly. So I totally believe in that. I mean, our mind is such a freaking powerful thing, and all of our existence exists between our two ears. So
Yeah, in the
like,
folds of this mushy little thing in our skull.
yeah,
So weird.
yeah. Like there's all of the, I have a friend who's really big into like vibration, and like how like your thoughts create your reality. And I'm like, I totally believe in it to an extent. Like to me, it becomes just another type of religious type thing eventually. Like any far into any one belief like thing, and like putting all your eggs in one thing, is like really a turn off to me now. And I think it's because I kind of, they're all kind of like a religion, like, okay, now this is the way. And I'm like, you don't know. Nobody knows what it
Yeah.
really is. But that's a really cool theory. And I like
Yeah.
the idea of, you know,
But
creating your reality by
yeah.
being positive and stuff. But you can't like imagine your way out of poverty or imagine your way out of
No.
racism. Like you can't just positive your way out of a lot of things, but you can
Yeah.
be positive and then put yourself out there because you're being positive in a way that you wouldn't have if you were down. So,
Yeah.
but I get it.
Yep. And it seems like when you start focusing on one thing in particular, that you shut your mind off to other things that could, I don't
Yeah.
know, make sense also.
Yeah. And I'm guilty of
So
doing that a lot. I know
we
that there
all
are a
are.
lot of things that I'm like, I feel like I like
Got
I'm
this
see
one.
or that I'm seeing it clearer than somebody else. You know what I mean? I'm like, because we'll see it differently. And I'm like, well, clearly they're just not seeing what I'm seeing. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I have to like check myself though. like there's gotta be some reason they think the way they think. I know I'm
Yeah.
not 100% right all the time. I think,
99% maybe,
yeah,
but
yeah, gotta be. Anyways, back to your
yeah.
stories though.
back to the stories.
Yeah.
Well, going back and like reliving bits of it and having that be therapeutic.
Hold on. You're kind of doing a little glitchy thing on my end.
Did I glitch? Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
I can hear you now. You were
Okay.
saying like going back
Um,
there
things
therapeutic.
being therapeutic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think this will be the last story that I will tell because there's a million little ones, but the last big one. So there's this boy, right? Let me make sure I have my right paper here.
Okay.
So there's this boy, and when he was very young, his parents got a swimming pool, and or they bought a house with a swimming pool, and he hated it. He would not
Yeah.
get in the water. Like he'd dip his toes in, but he'd freak out every time they go to the deep end. And he was, I can't find it right here. Anyways, I'll just tell you what I know. Um, he was super obsessed with the Titanic.
Okay.
Like he watched something on TV, and he watched like the end of the movie The Titanic, and he became super obsessed with it. Like he drew hundreds of pictures of the Titanic, and some of them were super, super detailed. And he drew like cross sections of the Titanic where you could see where all of the rooms were. And he would have these massive night terrors where you could hear him thrashing around in his room. And he'd get up and just like start booking it down the hallway, running into different rooms like he was trying to escape something.
Mhm.
Right. And his mom was kind of freaked out. She's like, this is just nuts. Um, and he would talk about the Titanic. Like when he drew pictures, he drew the 4 smokestacks on top, but he'd draw like smoke coming out of 3 of them.
Okay.
And his mom would be like, "Why did you only draw it coming out of 3?" And he's like, "Well, that one's a dummy stack. That one's just there for looks." And that was accurate to the Titanic. And he, gosh, I wish I could find my paper because there were so many. Oh no, I found it. Okay,
Okay.
so at 5 years old, he pointed out that the ship was made of iron, not steel, and it was supposed to be made of steel. And he talked about the people in the boiler room dying first.
So he
And he
must have been
said,
some sort of an architect.
yeah, well, that's what they came to understand. They went to like a Titanic exhibit at a
Mhm.
museum, and they had pieces of the actual Titanic, and he spent a long time staring at all of the things and looking over all the things, and he seemed to think that it was his fault that people died. Like it was a really hard thing for him. And
He should not have put that iceberg there. He should have known better. Pick it up.
no, he should have. No, but he was saying how they cut corners and how like he designed it this way, but they built it a different way, and because of that, people died, and he was super sad about it. And there was one night he had all these night terrors, but there was one night in particular that his mom came in, and she heard this knocking on his wall, like there was banging on his walls,
Mhm.
and she came into his room, and he was on all fours, and he was screaming like bloody murder, horrific screaming, and he said, she's going down, and he just started screaming, and then that was it. And then after that night, he stopped being so obsessed with the Titanic. Like he would talk about it occasionally, and um, he was just done. And the
Okay.
video that I watched had him as a college student
Mhm.
talking about it, and he said, I must have been somebody that helped with the Titanic because it was so real. Like anyway, um, but he said, yeah, it just kind of faded away.
Yeah,
Wasn't a big
yeah,
thing anymore. And he works in design right now. That's
yeah.
like architecture and design. So I don't know
So
if
the idea of like living multiple lives, it makes it sound um like there's, if that's real, like yeah, there's like
yeah, who knows,
an imprint of the last soul or something they knew, maybe.
some kind of shadow,
Mm-hmm.
an
Cool to think
echo,
about.
if you
Yeah,
will.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Um,
Can't prove it or disprove it. So I don't,
no,
yeah, but
I remember my little sister, and
yeah.
I didn't ask her if I could use this story, so sorry. But I remember when she was little, and she would tell us all about her friend Mrs. Farmer.
Mhm.
And I asked my mom about that for this, and she said she remembers Mrs. Farmer taught her a lot of things. Like she would tell my mom about all the things that Mrs. Farmer taught her.
Okay.
And so I have a vague memory of that, but no actual like stories.
Don't know who the Miss Farmer was or anything. Okay.
No, it
Mm.
could have been an imaginary friend. I don't know.
Yeah. I have
So,
like a memory of like a dark house, like, and it was like a memorial or something. And I feel like I remember telling that to my mom and her saying, like, it sounds like um somebody who had passed away before I died.
oh, really?
Yeah. Um, and I'm like, I don't know. It just felt like a grandma's house or something, and everything was really dark. And I'm like, what do I remember here? And then
Yeah.
um I don't remember this because I was a kid, but supposedly my mom was going to have a surgery or something like that. And I was a super anxious kid, like always had anxiety, and like like they had to give me a bag when they left the house because I would hyperventilate to be left alone or anything like that. It was a
Oh,
little,
man.
off my rocker. But apparently I had a dream that she was gonna be fine. And I told her that she was gonna be fine. I don't recall it, but you know,
That's cool though.
apparently
And
there,
she was.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And she was indeed.
Yeah. Well, I've I remember like when my kids are super duper little
Hmm.
and I'll be holding them. Um, I've wondered what they could remember, and I also remember them looking past me. Like they clearly weren't looking at me, and they'd look past me, and they just start laughing or smiling, or And I'd always ask them like, "Who's there? Who's talking to you?" But
Oh, your house is haunted. Okay.
no,
Yeah,
it
I'm just
was whoever
kidding.
it was. They were happy about it, so
Yeah.
that's all
Oh,
good. I like to
Haley.
think that people can come visit, but I don't know.
Yeah. Um, Haley, when we lived in Utah in my parents' old house, I'm sure I think I said this even last time that she had a a ghost or something,
Oh
a
yeah.
ghost friend that she talked
Mhm.
about for a long time. I should ask her again. Be like, what do you think that was? Do you actually remember seeing something? Like, because when they're
Yeah.
little, they really like, I don't know, they can't really explain, or I don't know. It was just like my ghost friend, like duh.
Yeah.
And I'm
It's easy to brush off because we don't
what did
understand. It's
you
like, oh
see? What
yeah.
did you because there is also, kids are very impressionable and they see things and they
Mhm.
have such vivid imaginations that I'm like,
Uh-huh.
who
Yes,
freaking
there's a dragon in
knows?
the backyard. I
Yeah,
I gotcha.
yeah.
Like,
It's kind of reassuring just to have a thought that there is something or some place to go when you look at just our rock flying through space, infinity, nothing. It's like it'd be nice
it
if
makes
there
me
was
nervous.
something.
It makes me nervous because I think of all of the places in the world that I wouldn't want to live. Like, what are
Yeah.
the chances I get like two good places in a row?
Yeah,
Like,
right. I mean, there are a lot of places in our world where I would definitely not want to live right now. That's for sure.
hmm
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think I was saying to you earlier, like I think I thought that we as a people were more advanced than we are, more evolved, and we're thinking more alike, more like forward thinking. I just thought there
Yeah,
was more of us, and now with like Roe versus Wade being overturned and things just kind of really taking steps back as far as everybody having, like bodily autonomy, human rights, and just the ability to live their own life their own way and not
yeah,
as prescribed by a cis white male, you know,
yeah.
it's
Or anybody.
well, anybody that's just who happens to have been leading our society for a very long time. So who
Yeah,
has um all of their ideas of what life is and should be have been kind of enacted because they've been in a position of power to enact it. But we all have ideas of what our life should look like or we want it to look like or what we can do. And um when things
and we
like
should have
that
some say in
happen,
it.
we should have all say in it. We should have all say in our own because we're the one who's required to live that life and live with whatever consequences come of that life. And I know that consequence could be like for this, they're saying you must have this child, and it's like, okay, but into a system that can't support them, person that can't support them, like that's literally you're being so selfish and stupid because all you want is like you're not thinking about the big picture at all. And
Yeah.
you obviously don't care about the person harboring the child. So
Well, we could do a whole
we
podcast on this one.
and
But
we did once before, but now there's just a whole
yeah,
new.
there's more, and yeah,
But
there's
it,
lots of moving pieces. But I like the thing that's circulating right now that says, um, if someone dies, if I'm dying,
mhm,
I still get to choose whether or not my organs go to people.
mhm.
Even if it's going to save a life, if I decide I don't want to do that, that's my choice. Even if it has an effect on
Yeah,
someone
yeah,
else's life, even if
because
it would
it's
kill
your
somebody.
body, so you get to choose. You get to choose.
And I am all for um, carrying full term pregnancies and the whole adoption story. Anyway, I'm all for that. I'm all for life. I'm all for babies. I love babies. I am the product of someone not having an abortion.
Yeah,
Like in our not so um, distant past, we found out we had a relative that was put in a very precarious situation and she chose to have a baby. And because she did, I'm here. So I'm very appreciative of that. But I don't think there's a worse feeling in this whole world than to feel like your body's not your own and somebody else is telling you what to do with it. And I think that can literally drive someone insane.
yeah. Have you seen any of the stories of just people who are the children of people who didn't really want kids, shouldn't have had kids type thing, where they're like, I like
Not official ones, but I see them
you
every
should,
day.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. But yeah, you should look into some of those stories on TikTok. I've come across quite a few of them where they're like, this was like being a child of someone who was incapable or didn't want you. And especially a lot of times knowing that because they would tell them I didn't want to have you.
Yeah.
And
Some
it's like,
parents are trash.
well, and yeah, exactly. But they didn't want to be a parent in the first place, which is should be a choice. Like children don't ask to be here, so they shouldn't be coming to people who just willy-nilly. And I know if you have that like Christian belief or whatever, like there are a lot of beliefs where they believe there's a soul attached to that the embryo and so
Mhm.
they have like a responsibility for that soul, but they the only responsibility they take is for it getting here, and then fuck it.
Yeah. Then what?
But there's like this whole society and stuff that it's supposed to fit into that's just broken and awful. It's like why? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, in Pleasantville, where everything is perfect,
Yeah.
every child is loved and cared for by the parents who donated the sperm and the egg, and they're, you know, super happy to be parents, and everybody grows up having enough to eat and having good places to live, and that's not how it goes. That's not how
Yeah.
it goes. And I don't know, in an imperfect world, we can't impose the rules for the perfect society. I don't know. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
well, and I don't even think it's the perfect society to say that
Oh, it's
everybody
not.
should have
I mean
kids or
perfect, because
yeah.
I did that to my daughter the other day, and anyway, she's like, "What?
Did what
You
to your
think
daughter?
what's perfect?" Well, I was talking about like in a perfect world,
Yeah.
I think I said every kid would have the mom and the dad that they were born with, and she's like, "What about gay people?" And I'm like, "Okay, no, 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 no. I meant the
Right.
perfect world, not the perfect world."
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. Well,
does
I
that make
mean,
sense, or did I just like
yeah. No, no,
swallow
no.
my tongue?
No,
Because I don't
no.
think that that's
No, that
that's
makes
not the way I
sense. You're
think.
just saying that all kids in a perfect world, all kids would be cared for and loved if they were chosen to be, brought in this world. And I do think adoption is great too. And for people who choose to, okay, I'm going to carry, that is a choice and very much can be your choice, but it needs to be a personal thing because most of the time the choice is made out of like duress. Is that the right word? Like nobody's just actively, I'm gonna go get me an abortion. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
other things going on in every single situation. And like they want you to think everybody's having all these late term abortions, but the vast majority are not. And
Yeah.
so it's not that people are even on like a large scale doing that. And I mean, I think it has to be between just the doctor and a patient. And it can't go outside of that. Granted, it has already, and it is, and I know they're saying they're like trying to give it back to the states, but
Yeah.
if they had done that with slavery, we'd still have states with slavery. So maybe ensuring
Yeah.
everybody has rights everywhere on a national level is super important.
See, and the benefit of bodily autonomy is if you don't want an abortion, don't get one.
Exactly. Uh, you know,
So,
and if whatever your belief system is, that's fine that you have that belief system, but there's that it is your belief system, and anything
yeah.
at all, like whenever anybody tries to use the Bible or any type of like biblical text, scripture text, whatever, to tell me something about the way that I should live my life, I'm like, but
Doesn't register.
I don't, because I don't believe it. I don't care what your book says. That's great for you, but to me it's literally nothing. I mean, it's very, 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 very old. Transcribe, it's a game of telephone, essentially. We know that a lot of things have been added and taken out, and we know how people in power tend to
Skew things.
few things to make sure that whatever they think is what continues forward. And there's just been so long of that happening that, and on top of that,
Levels.
like the God of the Bible, to me, is not like a great deity, not a great thing, not something I would worship.
Yeah.
Just the stories, the things that happen, like I'm like that doesn't make me feel love. That doesn't make me feel like an all-knowing someone who knew what was going to happen still did that. Sounds like you were very ignorant. How, you know what I mean? So I'm just
Yeah.
sick. I'm just sick of beliefs being used to dictate people's lives when we only get one. You know,
Yeah.
like have your
Especially when they're
beliefs,
not
but
your
keep
own
them to your
beliefs. Like,
have your beliefs, but keep them to your fucking self. And I will keep.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to keep them to myself because I'm choosing to say them, but I'm not also telling
But I
someone
can
to
choose
live it.
whether or not to yeah. You're not
Exactly.
trying to
Yeah,
change the
I'm not.
laws to
Yeah,
affect
I'm not
me or
enacting laws. I'm not doing anything other than bitching.
there's room for that.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens
Yeah.
in our next life.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe uh yeah. I don't know what to think about the whole, like if everybody has a soul, because then when you say when does the soul become one with you? Because if they have memories, like when is your soul fully in your body? If you still have the memories from like a last thing, or you know what I mean?
Mhm. Do you somehow retain bits and pieces of all of the lives that you lived, or are they just gone after a while, or what's the,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea, but it's fun to.
Yeah. Something I thought recently, because I was like, every time it's just starting to get dark, there's like this certain type of light that just makes me feel kind of like, ugh, like, ugh. And
Yeah.
it's like a time in the morning, it kind of is, but it's really when it's starting to get dark at night that gives me that. And I wonder if this is like a past life, like imprint on me, like maybe back to like hunter gatherer days, like it's starting. Hey. I'm using Zoom, and it only gives you like a certain amount of time free. So,
Oh, got it.
anyways,
So you were saying about the light at night, how you wonder if it came from.
yeah, I was just saying, I think it, or not, I wondered maybe that's why I have that. Cause it's not like, it's nothing I've ever really thought about. It's just like, I'll just notice I'll feel away and I'm like, oh yeah, it's that light,
Yeah.
like I just feel kind of, I can't even describe it, but it's not a good feeling. It's like
Yeah. Kind of eerie.
a heavy, eerie feeling. And I'm like,
Mhm.
why do I feel this? It's not like I'm scared. I'm not, but I have like a physical reaction to that light. And I'm like, I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah.
Could very well be something
Yeah.
in like ingrained in me from
Deeply in there.
yeah.
Yeah.
From like a previous life. Yeah.
Absolutely. I read something that was like, all of us have the same reaction to turning off the lights and running up the basement stairs. Like when you're a little kid, you flipped it and you ran like a bat out of hell trying to like escape whatever. What is it in that's in our
Yeah.
history
Yeah.
that
It's
that
like
gives you that panic
it's
feeling?
like
Because you know there's
run.
nothing down there. You're in the
Yeah.
basement of your own home. You know, it's your home. Why do you feel like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
No, that's
I
pretty
don't know.
funny. And we all do it.
It's universal,
Yeah. Universal fears. It's
I guess.
another thing, like for us, time moves only one direction, but like I've heard theories of like that time doesn't work that way in every aspect. That's just what we perceive
Yeah.
of it. So there's also like that idea that you can live lives in different like times.
Different
So
planes, different times,
yeah,
different.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
want
hard for
my
me
next
to
one
wrap
to
my brain
be
around.
like maybe I don't know. I'm trying to think of a time. There's never been a really great time for women's rights.
This is
um,
probably as good as it's been, but
yeah,
I don't know.
but also like the time when women stayed home and it was really their job to do the child rearing, like that's not necessarily what I want to do because I like being out and doing things. But the fact that
Yeah.
it seems that because one parent was working and one was home, people were able to afford more living, and like because everything didn't cost so much that they could do it off of one person working. And then because you had someone home, then when they did come home, most likely there was less things to do. You could just enjoy more time. Granted, there are a lot of things
Maybe
that
you'd
are negative
appreciate
about
it
that.
more now. Yeah.
Maybe,
Well, I don't
maybe.
think there's any one time that's like, this is perfection,
No.
unless I get to go be some sort of like fisherman on a Caribbean island or something. Like, hmm, just get
You
to like
know,
bask in the sunshine.
we could do that.
We could.
We
We
could. We
could.
won't, but we
We,
could.
we tell my kids occasionally that we're like, we're going to just move to Cancun and you guys get to sell pineapple on the beach and me and dad are just going to
Yeah.
hang out. And
Yeah. Can I
they have
come?
no child labor laws there. Yes, please.
We have no child labor.
I can sell my own pineapple. Don't get mad at me. But
Yeah.
anyway,
It'll be a family thing.
it would. It would
Yeah.
be a family affair for all of us to sell pineapple and live on the beach.
I am here for this. I mean,
Okay, let's do it.
gonna have to homeschool the kids, which I'm not the greatest at, but you know what?
It's all right.
We'll
We'll
manage.
homeschool them on the benefits of pineapple.
Yes, yes.
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyways, all
Anyway,
right.
could be
Well,
good.
I
Could be
can't
good.
say that you convinced me, but
I can't say that I convinced myself. I wasn't trying. I
yeah,
was
no,
just
I
telling
know, I know.
interesting story.
But I wanted you to convince me. I wanted you to tell me,
Oh,
but
well
they're
then. I'll
they
do more research and have more scientific facts for you next
no,
time. And
maybe
we can convince us both.
yeah. Or I'll just continue being okay with the idea that when I'm done, I'm done. And that's okay.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? So
Do you think anybody does know? Do you think there's anybody with like knowledge who's like knows, how like there's supposedly like knowledge of aliens or all these things that, and it's like, so everybody just collectively, like the government comes out and says they exist, but nobody sees, so we all just like, does
well,
anybody
I
actually
like
know, or do they just give us ideas to like obsess on? And
Yeah. Well, I like stories of near-death experiences. Um,
I like when
but I've
people
also
die. Just
when
kidding.
people die, but then don't die and they come back and haven't died. Um, no, but the different stories that they tell of what they see, I've wondered how much is
Yeah.
influenced by what they've been taught and what they think they should see and
Yeah.
what's actually there. I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe
My
that would be something to look
father-in-law,
into.
yeah, my father-in-law is like one of those like nine lives people. Like he's had a heart attack and he's had a couple bleed outs and just some really big like medical things, and he's coded and
Yeah.
died multiple times. And
Oh man.
he's just like, I've never seen anything. But also
Really?
he I don't think he has any type of strong belief. He never really held on to like he has
Belief
he went,
system.
yeah, but I don't think he like really believed it. It was like he always even said like they're like been good stories to learn from, just to like take lessons from pretty much. But I don't think he put much stock in it. So maybe because he didn't have that belief, he didn't his imagination didn't like give him what he wanted to see, and he saw nothing.
Yeah.
Because
I
he
don't
was
know.
like, he's just like, there's nothing. I've died multiple times, and I'm like, well, who knows?
Well, there
Also,
I go.
also would you remember? You know what I mean? Why do some people remember and some people don't? Some kids have things, some don't. Like just a weird, I don't know. Because there are
Weird
people,
weirdness.
yeah, there are people who claim to be able to talk to spirits, and I've never went to like a someone who could do that and like let them try to convince me that they're talking to someone. Maybe that's what we should do. Have you ever done that? Like go,
Have like a reading of some sort.
yeah, or like somebody who could like speak to the dead and like talk, I don't know, just any of that.
Seance kind of thing.
I know there was some lady on
Not since like the
TV.
third grade when we all met under the tree and we're like trying to talk to Elvis or something.
Why did a bunch of third graders want to talk to Elvis?
Because he's the only famous person we knew that was dead.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I don't
Who
know.
knows? But
Not us.
whatever.
All we know is that it's not us. We
It's
don't
not
know.
us.
Yeah. That's
Welcome
okay.
to all the things Emily and Rachel don't know. We talk about anyway.
Yeah. Two idiots talking about things they don't know anything about.
Sweet. If you would
New
like to
name.
join the idiot club,
Yeah. Or
like and subscribe.
yes, if anybody has a story of like a kid with a past life or a near death experience, I would love it if you shared it
Yeah.
with us. Because either way, the stories are cool.
They are cool and they're super interesting. And the ones you hear firsthand are always more convincing. Like,
Yeah. I thought for sure you were gonna say the one where the kid um knew who killed him. Said that he had
oh, I
been
did see
murdered in
that.
his last life, and like
Yep.
and apparently he had like a birthmark or something. But that one I've heard so many
Yeah.
times that I'm kind of glad you didn't, because if that one would have come up, I'm like, but that's just one that I've heard
I'm
so many
fun.
times that it just sounds too
Uh-huh.
telephony.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think if that had happened, it would have been like so huge. I don't know. I did hear that one and I read through it and I'm like, if I'm gonna talk about this one, I need to research it more because it also sounds like
Yeah.
somebody made it up on Reddit.
Yeah. Well, the
So
ones that you did, if you found any like YouTube videos or something, because you said something about that,
oh yeah, there were videos
fi-
on all.
find the links and send them to me, because I'll put them in the description too, but then
Okay,
I can watch them and see if it'll probably be
get
a fun
more.
watch. Yeah. A little
Yeah,
more
some
creepy.
of them are.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
they're not really creepy. It's just like interesting. Like these little kids are just matter of fact. Like yeah, I used to live here and
yeah.
had a different mom and a lot of things they say are like, oh, when I was big. Like that's a really common phrase that they use.
Yeah.
Like, oh, when I was big, I used to do this, and it's super clear to them. It makes no sense,
Yeah.
but to them, it's just like, oh, well, I was, so
Yeah.
it doesn't have to make sense.
Okay. Well,
So
definitely send me those
cool.
and I'll
Okay,
include
I
them when
will.
we watch them. All right. Well, I think we've babbled
We've done it.
for our allotted time.
Well,
More
thank you
than.
for saving Fridays because I like them as well,
Yeah, me too.
and
Well,
they have been good.
we got to get better with like sign on, sign offs.
Sign off, sign on.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I just don't want to say goodbye. Maybe I just like. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Yeah. I know. I always am like, oh, I gotta stop talking. Okay. I love
We'll
you.
do a theme song and a farewell.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Boom. Okay. On that note,
All right.
Lilas.
Bye, Lilas. See ya.